The United Nations on Friday welcomed the European Union's plan to triple the size of its naval search mission in the Mediterranean, but said the key test was whether lives were saved and those fleeing war had a chance of gaining asylum. The EU's assurances meant the operation would have capacity, resources, and scope comparable to Italy's Mare Nostrum, which was ended 6 months ago, the UN Refugee Agency, UNHCR, said. UNHCR believes they are an important first step towards collective European action, which is the only approach that can work for a problem of such a large and transnational nature, spokesman Adrian Edwards told a news briefing. 4 days after up to 900 desperate people drowned trying to reach Europe from Libya, EU leaders agreed at an emergency summit on Thursday to restore funding for naval search missions to last year's level. About half the people who crossed last year were fleeing war or persecution in Africa and the Middle East, thereby deserving refugee status, the UNHCR said. It urged Europe to provide access to refugee status through other legal channels, and to spell out what the new measures will mean for resettling and relocating migrants. From UNHCR's experience, we know that, without realistic and substantial alternative channels for people to reach safety, the much-needed increase in international efforts to crack down on smugglers and traffickers is unlikely to be effective, it said. Ultimately, the test will be whether we see reduction in lives lost, effective access to protection in Europe without having to cross the Mediterranean, and an effective common European asylum system, which truly lives up to its commitments of solidarity and responsibility sharing, Edwards said. The International Organization for Migration said it applauds the EU's conclusions that saving lives must be the priority. There has been a collective rethink and we hugely welcome that, IOM spokesman Leonard Doyle told the briefing. Tunisian captain appears in Italian court. Elsewhere, the presumed captain of a migrant boat that sank off Libya with the loss of up to 900 lives appeared before an Italian judge in Catania on Friday after prosecutors asked that he be charged with homicide and people trafficking. Mohammed Ali Malak, 27, has denied that he was in charge of the heavily overloaded fishing boat that capsized shortly before midnight on Saturday with hundreds of African and Bangladeshi migrants locked in its lower decks. He says he's a migrant like all the others and he paid his fare to go on the boat, his lawyer, Massimo Ferrante said outside the courtroom. The Tunisian showed little emotion as the preliminary hearing began behind closed doors in a court in the Sicilian city of Catania, where he will come face to face with a number of survivors who will be giving testimony. A 25-year-old Syrian, Mahmoud Bikat, who prosecutors believe was a crew member, has accused Malak of being in charge of the vessel when it collided with a merchant ship coming to its aid and capsized. Bikat denied being a crew member and said he was a migrant passenger on the ship. Prosecutors are not asking for homicide charges to be brought against him, but he may face charges of favoring clandestine immigration. However, his lawyer, Giuseppe Russo, said that his client had not yet been clearly identified as the presumed crew member in charge of the ship's motor. A witness in court on Friday spoke only of a light-skinned man who checked the engine room. "We still have to establish who this individual was who went down to check the engine room," Russo said. He said the witness had said there were 4 crew members, all of whom were described as light-skinned, but 2 of these appear to have been engaged only in checking the level of the boat, and it was not clear if they were among survivors. Only 28 people survived the disaster, believed to be the heaviest loss of life on the Mediterranean in decades and which underlined the scale of the migrant crisis facing Europe. The sea is one of the main routes into the European Union for tens of thousands of mostly Asian and African migrants fleeing war and poverty, with almost 40,000 people having arrived this year already. The heavy loss of life has also raised pressure for action by EU countries, who pledged this week to step up search and rescue operations in the southern Mediterranean. After interviewing the survivors, prosecutors have concluded that more than 750 people are likely to have been aboard the 20-meter-long fishing boat, but with most locked in the hold and lower deck, only 24 bodies have been recovered. They have also requested that Malak face kidnapping charges in addition to multiple counts of homicide, causing a shipwreck and facilitating clandestine immigration. Friday's hearing is an incident probatorio, a preliminary hearing intended to allow judges to establish the basic facts of a case before a decision is taken on whether to file charges and take the case to trial.